Welcome to this episode of Shrink for the Shy Guy. I'm very excited to be having a conversation with someone that I've personally learned a lot from, him and his partner, Laura. John Thornton, who is the co-founder of the Pain Cure Clinic in Colorado, which has helped many people free themselves from ongoing chronic pain, including significantly helping me in my life to become a lot more active and able. And that's something we're really going to dive in today's episode, is how to be more active. Now, when you're listening to this, you might say, well, wait a minute. I don't know if I have pain. I don't know if that's my thing. But what I've found is that people with anxiety and social anxiety and niceness, excessive niceness, are creating a lot of tension in their body. Their fear system is overactive. They might also have a lot of self-criticism and perfectionism. And all those things produce tension in our nervous system, which actually can create quite a bit of pain in a variety of ways. Oftentimes people think they're injuries. I have a, quote, bad back, or, oh, my old knee is acting up. But it can be stomach problems, headaches, like so many different things. And so whether or not you do have ongoing pain symptoms, listen to this with an open mind, because you just might find how many ways that you're creating disturbance in your body. And we're also going to talk about how you can live a more active life regardless and really free yourself. So thank you so much for joining us, John.
Thanks, Aziz. It is great to be here. Good to see you again.
Yeah. So let's dive right into this. You know, one of the key things that I think happens when people feel pain is they get scared, and then they think, oh no, I have an injury or a problem. And the impulse when we feel pain, the bad back acts up, the knee acts up, the hip acts up, the foot acts up, is to stop all use of it, rest it, don't do anything on it, maybe a little gentle stretch or something, some icing. And that might seem reasonable, but what have you found in clients that you're helping? And is that the best approach, or how do you help people when the pain is there?
Yeah, and let me start by saying I used to be that way myself. The symptoms, all those chronic symptoms, most of them you mentioned, I've had. Started about 15 years ago, and I believed, like most people do, that they were all real medical conditions. And I went to the doctors and I took the drugs and I did everything they told me to. And it wasn't until I had an epiphany and found this mind-body connection that it was actually stress, not herniated discs or a genetic defect, but just emotionally being stressed out that was causing all my chronic symptoms. And that was a real awakening. And to get to your point, among other things, if it's stress, then that means there's nothing really wrong with you. So there's no reason to do what I did too originally, which was to retreat and become. I had been a very physical person, but the biggest symptom was back pain, and when that hit, I just stopped everything and waited for it to heal. And what I figured out was that was the worst thing to do. That the best thing to do was to challenge the pain, and by challenging it, it ended up going away.
Can you say more about what you mean by challenging the pain?
Yeah, and it doesn't matter, you can get pain anywhere in your body, whether it's a shoulder, or I had tennis elbow, I've had calf pain, a lot of other things. And when you retreat from that and try to rest it, and I think it's when you get a new pain symptom, I think it's not a bad idea to maybe let it rest for a couple days to see whether it's a real structural problem, because certainly people do get real things. But for example, my tennis elbow, I went to sleep one night, I was fine. And then I woke up the next morning and my whole arm was red with pain.
Mm.
And there was really no reason for it. So when you retreat, also the fear increases, and that's part of it. So the best way to move forward and resolve things very quickly too, because I think with a lot of this stuff, and I know you've experienced this as well, um, by challenging the pain directly, like my tennis elbow, I held for a couple days and then I just started working out again. Um, as soon as I did that, it went away. Now that may not seem like a big thing, but that could have lasted for years and
Oh
ended
yeah.
up in surgery. And
Yes.
I've had a lot of stuff like that to where I, my story is I was pretty active. I was running my own business. And by the time all these symptoms piled up, I was a couch potato. My business was gone and I was doing nothing. And it wasn't until I started saying, I started pushing back after reading a book called The Mind Body Prescription by Dr. Sarno,
Mm.
that my whole life changed. And then Laura, my wife, saw what happened to me, and she did the same thing, and her rheumatoid arthritis went away.
Mm. Yes. And so I think one of the challenges, and I was just noticing this pattern in myself. So um I feel like I am able to do so many things. I'm active, running, lifting weights. It's amazing. If I look back to when I was in chronic pain, it's like a dream come true. And I can still run certain patterns that will generate the pain. And I feel like that's the next level is like Laura, who I coached with, would always, remind me to prioritize my intensity because I
Mhm.
would approach things with this kind of like, rah. And I was actually just reflecting this last week about, I think I'm at the stage to like really create larger and larger space between pain or is actually to not just prioritize it, but almost learn to soften it.
How
Basically be a
so?
little less intense because that intensity is like a control thing, right? It's like, I need to get this or that. But what I noticed is when the pain will come on, I'll run a very similar pattern. For the first day or two, I'll go very quickly into like despair.
Mhm.
And what I realized is that the link is because I spent from the age 15 to 19 in just like the most intense pain I had in my life and no hope, right? We've got all these doctors and treatments and nothing worked. And I was trying to be like a normal high school, early college kid and just trying to look normal, but really being like totally distraught inside.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so when the pain comes, and the fact